Welcome to another episode of the Between Podcast. Gosh, I am so glad you're listening. It's me, Matt Matson, and I'm here with the good Reverend Danny Hilliard. Danny, is God on my side? That's the question that I'd like to tackle today. And I just want a straight answer from. I need a yes or no answer from you right now. Is God on my side? It's important, Danny, and you're my pastor, and I need the right answer.
I'm going to answer your question with a question, Matt.
Oh.
Are you on God's side?
Oh, what a way to enter the podcast. Oh, people, we could just end it right there. You can meditate on that question all day. Are you on God's side? That might even be a better question than is God on my side, Danny, like for us to discuss. All right, before we get into that, let me ask you this. Why might this question be relevant for us as a between community, for people who interact with us in today's completely peaceful, normal world? You know what I mean? Like there's nothing going on out there really to report on. Why might this question be relevant, do you think?
I think if you turned on a news channel, any news channel, for 5 minutes, I think you'd see the root of this question of every side, multiple sides, multiple perspectives are at the point of shouting at each other of I'm on the right side, you're on the wrong side, right? Like that's the narrative. Whether you're living in, the United States of America, or you're living in another corner of the world, in another country, under another sort of leadership, that's the narrative always. And it shows throughout all of history, people believing they are on the right side and people are on the wrong side. And those who have religious beliefs will then claim that the divine is only on their side, not the other side.
I want to name a point of conflict early on about this question. The Bible names Israel as God's chosen people, mm-hmm. right? If we're in the Hebrew Bible, we are smack in the middle of a story of a people who are early on struggling with and eventually coming to confidence in that God is on their side. The God of Israel, that God. At that time, people understood that the tribe next door had a different God, and that they were like, honestly, I kind of going to drift over to this God over here and maybe worship this God a little bit because this God isn't delivering on the things that I kind of want him to deliver on. And so like that question of, is there a chosen people? Is God on somebody's side, some people group, some nation, some identity, are there good guys and bad guys out there? Like this, mm-hmm. I've got an answer that I could fight through, but I'm actually posing it to you as this feels hard. That feels, as somebody who is exploring Christianity or Abrahamic traditions, doesn't it kind of say pretty clearly, maybe even not just for a literal interpretation, doesn't kind of say pretty clearly that there are chosen people, that God has a people, that it is a God of a people? Like for me, that feels mm-hmm. hard right away. Very difficult.
Very difficult. And you set it up. You set in everything that you just said sets up for the reality of religious pluralism, right? And the reality of the multitudes of religions across the globe, right? I think I only know these statistics because I'm literally including religious pluralism in my upcoming sermon on Sunday, because it's like 89% of the globe claims a certain religion. Only 1/3 of that is Christianity. Now, it's still the largest of all the other different religions, right? And then you get Hinduism, Buddhism, all the other different faith and traditions within that. Christianity still has a large portion of it, And Christianity usually says God is only on our side, right? Like other religions are wrong. And I don't think that's how we are to live as faithful peoples with the multitude of religions. It's not about like your side's wrong, come to our side. It's not about that type of conversion, but it's a type of conversion of let's open your heart and your mind to the different avenues of truth in which different religions find, and they all religions wrestle and struggle with the same exact questions. So if you come from a Christian perspective, I come from a Christian perspective, and I know that there are beautiful, wonderful other religious traditions that wrestle with the same exact questions that our churches wrestle with, and that our scripture reads, and that we meditate on, and that we gravitate towards, and that we attempt to answer. And if I'm closed minded to the reality of other religious traditions, also knowing that, like, I am a white American woman. If I was born in Indonesia, I'd more likely be Muslim, right? Like, I would be of a different religion. So, also having that awareness of different areas of the globe and how they experience the divine, how they worship the divine.
Yeah, so you don't know, I guess is what you're saying. I'm just kidding. No, that was
Again, they're not helpful at all. That's me wrestling through like the reality though of like the question we ask when we say, is God on my side? And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, how many sides are there to take? Let's start there. And then where I think it can also be dicey is it becomes so overwhelming that you're like, well, then what is truth? And what should I even cling to? And then what should I even
yeah,
practice?
right.
Like, right? Then it's just like throw my hands in the air, throw the Bible out the window. Like, none of this makes sense, anyways. Why care? And there's something beautiful about holding personal conviction. There's something beautiful about holding your own faith, traditions, and beliefs while also trying to remain open to opposing beliefs, opposing sides, opposing perspectives. Easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a physical way to answer the question, is God on my side, is to say God is in the middle. I don't mean like in the middle of the political positions out there. I actually mean like at the core. God is at the core.
That's good.
And if you perceive yourself on a side, you are intentionally separating yourself from God. So it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like if you're on a side, if you're out, the more we take sides, man, that's tricky. I'm not sure I believe this, but I'm going to walk down this path for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The more we take sides, the further we walk away from God. Now, somebody's going to say, hold on. You mean you're not taking sides about if it's good to do this terrible thing? Like, is this evil or is this not? No, I think what I'm trying to say is goodness is in the middle, at the core. Goodness is at the core. And it's so easy for us to walk away from that, thinking we're walking towards something good that is not. That metaphor is going to break apart right away. So this is me saying to the listener, this is a hard question. I actually really think this is a hard question. I can give you a cheap answer. Of course not. And of course, yes, right? The cheap answer is God isn't on a side.
Yes,
and the cheap answer is, yeah, that's such a human thing to ask. And like that, I'm trying to say, no, this is actually hard because I believe we all think deep down in our core, God is of course on our side. Of course, like agrees with our position. We all, maybe not we all, many, 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 many people believe that the lens through which they see the world is the right lens, or at least the ordinary lens, the regular lens, the normal lens, and it's the lens that God sees the world through. Of course, like of course, we're the default. And if everybody's the default, I got bad news for you, friend. If you think you're the default, your neighbor thinks they're the default, and your parent thinks they're the default. And guess what? Unpeel one or two layers, and you're going to find out that your default and their default are dramatically different. They are born from different experiences, born from different fears, born from different motivations, but and all tinted, biased by. Um, so I don't know. Like this is a hard question. This is me saying this is a hard question.
Because then I'm going to raise you another question. Is God a God of all sides? But then that kind of ticks me off.
Mhm.
But is it something that transcends our finite human thinking, our primal human brain that can only take in so much of the vast divinity of the cosmos?
Mhm.
Like we did a podcast episode on love, right?
Mhm.
And I still don't think we will ever truly define and comprehend love the way that God is love.
Yeah. And this is where obviously I get into trouble about this. I make people uncomfortable or mad when I say this, but like if you think the Bible is the answer, the Bible is such like Paul defining love in First Corinthians is whatever.
Mm.
He took a swing, he took a stab at it, but it is such a shallow brush up against the truth of love, right? Like it is like he barely skimmed the surface. He got the, you know, like flavored sparkling water version of love. Like it is a hint of it is the thought of a memory of the thought of once brushing up against a taste of love. Like it's not. It's just a little sliver. And so, this is your point. You're saying, man, there is this great big thing. This great big thing. We point to it and name it God. We point to it and name it love. And sometimes we're pointing to the same. We think we're pointing to the same thing, or we might be. And our ability to comprehend what we are pointing at is so minuscule. And so
Mhm.
to claim that some issue of modern day, some political issue that people are arguing about on three different sides, to claim that our position is God's position is so egotistical, is so crass. It's so disrespectful to the grandeur of the concept of God.
I keep thinking about, specifically because of the Christian tradition I'm a part of, and the scripture and the prayer that we say every single Sunday of thy will be done. What is thy will? And I even wrestle with that in my own prayers. I'll give you an example. Last year, my husband and I, we were in this really difficult season, and we said a prayer together, which we don't always pray out loud together, but we were like, you know what, we have no other. So we're praying, and he busts up laughing in the middle of my prayer. And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
I'm like, why are you laughing? He's like, you have such an agenda right now. Like, I was like, literally like, and God, do this and do this and do like all these things. And he's like, is that thy will? And I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm done praying with you indefinitely. Like, we do that as human beings. Like we believe thy will is my will. Like I have the right side. I have the right thoughts. When in reality, God's thoughts are not our thoughts. God's thoughts, thank God, God's thoughts are not my thoughts, and transcend beyond what my mind can even attempt to make sense of in this world that we live in.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. I don't know. The transcend feels like the right concept
Mhm.
to invite invite a listener into, invite myself into. Anytime I wonder, anytime I confront this question, right? Like, what is God's will? What is God on my side? That what I think I'm supposed to be invited into is seeing that there is a truth, a
Mhm.
like capital T truth, that is so much bigger than than even the things that seem so big in our human lives, in our political lives, in our community, in the conflict in our community. Those things always feel really big. And then there is a capital T truth that is 1 million times bigger.
Yeah.
And what we're invited into is to transcend these things that we're fighting over and to try to walk toward that big capital T truth. And that is really uncomfortable because what it probably requires is
Mm,
two things. Number one, it requires us to challenge every assumption we have about the position we've taken um, in the fights, in the human level fights. And number two, it requires us to lean in really close to each
mm,
other because I believe we the closer we get to each other, the more we see the human experience of another person, the more we look in their eyes and try to understand their longings and their pain and their
mm,
history and their dreams. The closer we get to that human reality, I know it doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but I think that's us also getting closer to that capital T truth, that big ineffable God reality. Like
mm,
that's either we are each other's pathway to that big truth, or we are the truth. Like maybe just you and me, like me looking at you right now and me trying to understand your truth and realizing that there's 8 million other pathways, other interpretations, other expressions of God's truth.
mhm,
Maybe that's the only way to it. So I think those are, I don't know, man. Like I think that's really hard to believe. It's really much harder to do, and it, it but it transcend. It invites us to transcend. It knocks us off
mm,
the human sides. The question of sides. God doesn't accept the premise that there are sides. That's what maybe the shorthand of what I would offer.
mm. I appreciate how you use that term, like leaning in, because it makes me think of specifically when someone when I don't see eye to eye with somebody on an issue, right? It's so easy to hide behind the many like barriers that we put up of ourselves of like this is me and my political stance, this is me and my religious beliefs, this is me and this, like we put up all these like barriers, and sometimes we try and fight one another from the barriers, right? Rather than, okay, like move those out of the way, move out of the way, come lean in, get close and realize, man, I'm struggling with the same questions as that person, or
Yeah.
wow, like I had a similar experience that that person had, yet we took it in different meanings, uh and seeing each other for the reality, going back to that whole little thing about religious pluralism I said, is like we're all wrestling with the same questions of what does it mean to be a human being, what is man, what does it mean to live in peace with one another, what does it mean to love our neighbors, who is our neighbor, like all these questions, like we are all trying to figure it out, and we do beautiful attempts at answering all those questions, and yet we fall back on the, oh, this feels good enough, so God must be on this side.
Mm. Ooh, that's heavy. That it feels good. It feels good. Oh, that's interesting, Danny. Like how do I push myself past what feels good, what feels like the right thing? I only say that because do I think most of the time if something feels wrong, I know that something feels wrong, and if something feels right, I know that's probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. I don't want to not trust my feelings. That you're not saying don't trust those perceptions of the world, but push into it and
Mm,
ask yourself if you were in somebody else's shoes, if you were seeing the world through the experience of somebody with a dramatically different lived experience from you,
mm-hmm.
would that still feel the same way? And this is where the complexity of right and wrong, the complexity of justice, to get right to the heart of it, the complexity of
Mhm.
justice is incredibly difficult to untangle, right? This is the classic,
Mhm.
like if somebody steals bread because their family's hungry, is it good or bad? This is the simplest Sunday school questions
Mhm.
that really enter us into, if we take them seriously, they enter us into um, nuance. They enter us into something beyond what's right and what's wrong, something closer to what's love.
Mhm.
What's love? And that's where people do things that don't align with what they've always thought or what they were always told were these were the rules, these are the laws, these are the things. Danny, I can't help but go to the issues, the biggest issues of the day, and talk about immigration, talk about ICE taking people off the street in Minnesota, talk about why those people came to the U.S. In the first place.
Mhm.
I've got a friend I was talking to the other day who's got family members who came in 1978 from Vietnam on boats, and one of their family members died on the boat ride here. And like now, one of those people, by the way, is in ICE custody today, so many years later, because the paperwork was screwed up because they were a 6-month old kid when they came from a tiny village in Vietnam, and now they're here and they get picked up by ICE. Like, which part of that? Our law is broken? Is somebody's paperwork not in order? Yeah, agreed.
Mhm.
What's love? For that, like if my question is not what's right, but instead what's love, I
Mhm.
want to offer that's the side God's on. What's love?
Mhm.
Uh, Man, I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I agree with any of that. And there's exceptions, and I'm sure, but gosh, that feels close to what's actually under this question of is God on my side?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, Matt, you were at the sermon I preached, and I gave a statement following, the very acts of violence that we're seeing in Minneapolis, and I gave it on that weekend. And uh, more than anything, mm, love and truth will not feel good in this situation because it's calling us to see the worst sides of us, right? Like collectively as a humanity, right? There's a mirror being held up to us right now, and we are seeing what we are capable of,
Wow.
what human beings are truly capable of doing to each other. And if that just doesn't make your stomach hurt, then you then we've become too far down our own path of believing we are in the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like to not negate, like I love your voice in this moment, Danny. That sermon was, I thought it was one of the greatest sermons I've ever heard in my life. I'm not saying that lightly. It was one of the most moving truths I've ever seen show up in a church setting.
Thank
And
you.
what I think you've done well, and what I think we're trying to do here is not negate the questions of right and wrong from a human level. Like, no, those are good questions.
Yeah.
But to put a mirror up and say, um, when something's wrong, how do we respond with love and compassion or not? And that becomes pretty heavy when we look at that mirror, especially in this moment when our society, I hope, looks at that mirror and says, "Is this love? Is this compassion?"
I go back to your leaning in, and that God is not on a side, but God is at a core, right? So what do human beings look like? Ooh, what does the soul look like when we peel off all like job title? Like take off your job title, take off your political ideology, take off your religious beliefs, take off like everything that you have defined yourself with as a human being. And if you strip it down, who are you? You are an image of God in all of your diversity, in all of the variations and expressions of who you are and the evolutions of your life on earth. you're an image of God. If we could, and I say this thinking of my own comfort of the people I see every day, right? Like if we could choose to see everyone as God's image bearers, how much differently would we show up for those people, right? Rather than just, you know, immediately putting a judgment, putting a prejudice, putting a bias, putting a label, like slapping it on a person before we even know their last name, and being like, oh, like, man, God made them so beautifully. And through human experience, through upbringing, through trauma, through yada, 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 like they have become this version of themselves.
Mm. Danny, I had a theological aha as you were just talking. Like when you talked about like sort of stripping off of all of our identities, what does our raw soul look like? Like what almost when we take off all the identities, all the masks, all the things that we use to build prop ourselves up,
Mm-hmm.
what's left? Body and blood, right? Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I had this like this um, Jesus at the Last Supper breaking bread and not naming himself, not giving uh, not giving any of those identities, not giving here I am the high priest of your life, not giving here I am the king of your existence. No, I take this, my body, my blood, my raw soul, like my just nothing else. That just the most. Oh, I don't know why I'm moved by this right now, Danny. Like, just take that. That is what I'm giving you. That, what a faith, Danny. Like what a beautiful, beautiful gift to be
Mm-hmm.
invited to do the same. To be invited to do the same. Like to just give that raw soul to each other. And it's is it hard? It was death. Is it? Yes, it is the
Mm-hmm.
hardest thing. The hardest thing. The symbol of a man bleeding on a cross, being tortured. That's the symbol. Like that's what it is. That's the
Mm-hmm.
invitation is to this raw presentation of ourselves as a gift, and that's it. Like that's God. That's what God looked like in that story.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for giving me that image that I've never looked at that story that way before.
Mm-hmm. And to partake in communion, right? Like culture has been able to be too comfortable often of like, oh, the bread was not equally sliced, whatever. But being able to commune with people. And it's one of my favorite moments in worship because we're all partaking of the same cup, the same bread, knowing that there's other churches doing the same sacrament. And we all believe that God's on our side. Yet in that moment, we transcend our sides
Wow. Yeah.
and we truly commune in that body and that cup.
Wow. At that moment, the 60,000 U.S. denominations of Christianity or 45,000, well, I don't, that stat's wrong, but like the massive amount of
Yeah.
disagreement in this one religion that is only a third of people who even believe in God, like the massive amount of disagreement in this one goes away because we're all just eating. We're all
Mhm.
just at a table together. We're all just sitting together. That's another, man, that ritual is so layered. I'll be honest with you. For a long time, communion was I didn't really get it. I mean, I've probably said this on this podcast
Church time
before.
snack.
Yeah. Like, okay, at least now, like, there's some churches that got some good crackers. You know what I mean? Like some delicious.
Oh yeah. You know you're the worst is when they make you, I mean, this was pandemic time, right? We had to take
Mhm.
up those little
Oh,
styrofoam, like
oh, all the
this is like
individually packaged. Yeah. that was terrible. Yeah.
So when you were this diverts us away from the communion conversation, but when you were talking about like stripping us down into like what does the core like
Mhm.
fleshy like
Mhm.
blood look like, it made me think of, have you ever seen your kids are maybe a little like older than this movie, but Elio, it's like a newer
Mhm.
Disney, I think it came out in the last few years. It's called Elio, and this little boy gets abducted by aliens, and he finds like this cute little squishy alien that's his friend. And but like there's he's supposed to be converted into like this army, right? And so
Yeah.
they're like these big robotic scary looking figures, and he's supposed to like be a part of this ceremony where he becomes one of those, and he's like, I don't want, like this whole thing.
Mhm.
Anyways, if you have not seen the movie, slight spoiler, it's not too much, but like there's a moment when that little squishy cute little alien, his dad's like the big masked robot, and the squishy alien gets hurt and is almost dead. And the robotic dad is like the scariest person in the movie. And he comes like trucking, he's like, no. And then he strips out of this like robot that he is. And he also is one of those squishy little
Oh wow.
things. And he like waddles over and holds his son as like sweep. Oh my gosh, I watched that and I just like cry because like that's us as human. Like we put on like these big, we leave our homes and we put on these big scary robotic costumes and are like, this is the role I'm playing and this is how I'll show up and defend myself and defend my family. But when crisis hits or like something hits you, like in your soul, you're just that little tiny
Just
squishy. Anyway, you got to watch the movie because it's that perfect example and analogy of what we all truly are at our
yeah.
core is just these tender, fragile little beings.
And maybe that little squishy soul inside is that's what God actually looks like. Like that to go back to our question. Maybe God isn't the big scary robot, the big all powerful, all seeing, all knowing being, all this big powerful story that does take a side and that I don't know, like I think I can read some of the stories of the Bible and see that the truth underneath, like what what the symbols and the behaviors and the characters we're all trying to do is say, no, all this is broken. All the human stuff is all it's all show. It's all us putting on our big robot costumes and putting on a show. And God has always just been a squishy, lovey, gentle, meek, warm, like little gooey thing. Like that's I haven't
I
seen the
love
movie, but I've got a picture in my
that.
head of what it
Yeah.
is. That's cool. Is that? I mean, maybe that's the heart of this question is God on my side goes pretty
Mhm.
directly to a Christian nationalist conversation, goes pretty directly to a Democrats versus Republicans, goes pretty directly to when I show up in a huff and I'm angry at somebody that I'm in a
Mhm.
relationship with. Maybe they're at my church or they're at my workplace or they're in my family. It's like every time we do that, every one of those things I just mentioned, these are all us assuming the identity of some abstraction, assuming
Mhm.
the identity of some separate thing that is all make believe. It's all those are all constructs. Those are all social constructs that aren't true. What's true? Man, body and blood. What's true? A gooey soul, like a mushy little squishy, like true soul.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what God's on the side of that squishy soul, and that squishy soul is just pure love. That squishy soul is the dad robot, take like in just melting because the thing he loves is hurt. Man,
Mhm.
that's really beautiful.
Mhm. Not so much an us versus them, right? Like everything that you just said, like throughout all of history, we see the us versus them, and it's I don't think that's I if we are given a purpose. Here you go, Danny, starting another conversation in this end of the podcast. If we are given a purpose, is our purpose as human beings to truly live in us versus them?
Huh.
I really don't believe so.
Oh,
And yet, history tells that narrative time and time and time again.
wow. Yeah, there's no way. Everybody just stop. That is so profound. There is no way we were put here as two sides, two fighting forces in a war to fight each other. And that's
Mhm.
the purpose of humanity, is to show up and fight us versus them. No, sorry, no,
No way.
no, no way, no way. Man, that's really profound. Huh? We were put here for a different reason. We were
Mhm.
put here to transcend the question of sides to begin
Mhm.
with. We were put here to love. We were put here to love. That's pretty compelling. Hmm. All right, Danny, we answered it. Good job. We answered this question.
Check. Next episode.
Next episode.
Listeners, I hope you have enjoyed our attempts of answering these major questions. And if anything, if our answers, if our responses made you challenged you, frustrated you, I'm so glad. And we're not trying to hurt anybody. We're not trying to harm anybody. We're trying to challenge us as human beings of what is sacred connection and why does the space between all of us matter so much. And hopefully this helps you to bring these thoughts and awarenesses in your everyday interactions with other people.
I love it. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, listener. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Between Podcast. You've just got another dose of truth from Danny and Matt, where we bring all the answers to the biggest questions. Don't argue with us. We don't want to see you in the comments section. We are not interested in your opinion. We've got it right. And thanks for following our every word. That was fun, Danny. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.